Okay, it's a little bit of a sad story, actually, but one that for me, and I hope for everyone else that listens, is full of hope. It's from an expat who I first worked with a couple of years ago on one of my projects, and more recently read something online which I just had to reach out to. My heart went out. So I want to introduce Sam. He's in Bangkok at the moment, and talk to Sam about his battle with cancer here in Thailand. Sam, I think that's probably the best way I could introduce. I didn't know really how to set the scene for this one.
It's okay, Dan. I mean, yeah, we worked together on Mia, and so that was a few years ago, and those were some fun times there. And but yeah, to get down to it, I'm 36 years old. I've been living in Bangkok for 2.5, 3 years now. Working in a tech industry, just having a good time, building my career, doing everything that's great. Um, and over the last year, I had neck pain from something called office syndrome, right? You've heard of that, and bad posture and everything. I went to masseuses, got massages, chiropractors, doctors. They did an x-ray in my spine. Everything was okay. And off and on, like I did training, physical therapy, and the neck would be fine. It was okay off and on. Sometimes it'd be good, sometimes it'd be bad, but I managed it. It was fine. And then about 6 weeks ago, I got massive pain running from the back of my head and my neck down. And then when I would, get out of bed, my leg would go numb. It'd be like it fell asleep, tingly. It wouldn't hurt, but just be tingly and like hard to walk. And at this point, I was like, I got to get to the hospital.
Was it
and
sudden?
So I go see.
Was it sudden, or was it gradual, or was it sudden?
Sudden.
Yeah.
Sudden. It happened like that. It was just like over the weekend. It was like a Friday afternoon it hit, and then like by Sunday I was like, because I figured it'd be like, when you get something happens, you wait a couple of days just to see if it goes away. And that's how I've been dealing with my neck pain. Like sometimes I get it and just goes away. This definitely was sudden. And so Sunday I went to the doctor. He looked at me, examined me, and felt me up. And I told him, like, this is going on, like I'm walking weird. And he goes, I can't tell what's wrong with you exactly. There doesn't seem to be anything problems, like your neck's a bit tense, but other than that, I'm going to send you to the neurologist. So I was like, okay. I go to the neurologist. He kind of checks me out a bit. He does the same thing, says, I don't think there's anything wrong with you, but let's do an MRI. And I'm like, okay. And at that point, before that, he checked me out and did all the physical stuff to make sure I'm mentally, cognitively there and nothing's wrong with me. And so MRI is just kind of a, basic thing that they do just in case to check out. So I get put in the MRI machine. It's supposed to be an hour. I get pulled out after 20 minutes and sent back to the doctor. And he sits me down, takes off his glasses and looks me in the eyes and says, all right, Sam, here's the deal. You have 3 tumors in your brain. One's about the size of your thumb, 2.5 centimeters, and massive brain swelling. And I'm sitting there just like, okay. Like, I don't even know how to process that. Like, I literally just didn't, I was just like, okay. And he says, we have to do brain surgery immediately, like as soon as possible. And so I go, okay. I called my girlfriend and she comes to the hospital and we're chatting. And at this point, like, she called my parents. They live in Italy and they say, okay, we're going to come. It's, they got to go through all the stop and go or whatever the processes that they have right now in Thailand to get here. So they're not going to be here for 6 days. And I say, okay, doc, let's do the surgery. And at that point, I have health insurance and everything, but they still come with me and say, look, it's brain surgery. You're going to be here in the hospital for a week at least. So we need a down payment. And I'm like, okay. And it's about 1 million baht. And, that's quite a bit of money, and my girlfriend, without even thinking about it, says, okay, here you go. Take my card. Let's pay for it. Which I just blew my mind. I was like, whoa, thanks. Like, that was awesome. So we spend the night at the hospital. She gets a PCR test. It's negative. And, that's great. The next day we wake up and I get my head shaved. And that was the moment where it started to hit me like, okay, this is going down. And I get wheeled off to go get brain surgery, to go get the tumor removed. And my girlfriend left to go to the mall because it's a 6-hour surgery and she went to go meet up with friends or whatever. And, I go through the surgery. I get woken up 6 hours later, it's finished and they do all these tests on me. They ask what's my name, what's the date, they see if I can move my arms and legs and everything. And I'm fine. They're like, you look great. You sound great. You look amazing for someone that just had, brain surgery. Yeah. So I'm like, cool. I'm just sitting there, dealing with brain surgery, getting through the pain and whatnot. And my girlfriend comes back and they're wheeling me down the hall and she sees me. And she took a PCR test, but she was waiting. And she sees me and gives me like a hug and says, hey, I love you. I'll see you later. I was like, okay. And then, a bit later they come and they say, look, your girlfriend's positive with COVID. We need to move you to a COVID safe room and give you a test because COVID, brain surgery, no bueno, not good at all. So I get moved to the COVID room and which is a very depressing place to be. And then what happens next is this guy comes in full suit. I can't even see him. And he's like, hi, I'm Dr. So-and-so. I'm a cardiologist. We need to do an emergency heart surgery.
Fuck.
And yeah, this is right after I had brain surgery. Let's say I think it was like 24 hours or so, something like that. And he's like, we need to do that. We're going to do it tonight or so. And so they're waiting on my COVID test to come back and blah, blah, blah. I do the PCR test and they go through heart surgery. And what happened with my heart, to back up here, is the pericardium is kind of like a balloon and it surrounds your heart. And your heart is usually like something like this big. It's swollen up to about that big. And it was filled with fluid that was gonna kill me or get infected or give me a heart attack or a stroke. It was a massive problem. And they found it when I did the MRI. And it's unrelated to, everything else that's happened so far.
I don't get it.
And so
how can you have that as well and not know about it?
Dan, I mean, up until this point, I was running every day. I was swimming. I was doing my usual work, living with my girlfriend, doing normal stuff. I had no symptoms other than the neck pain, which by the way is gone. And we don't think that was related to cancer. I don't know. So I have that heart surgery and I get put in another COVID room or whatever and deal with that for the next few days because they had to watch me for a couple of days. Even though I was negative, they still had to watch me just in case. And I get visited by, a doctor, the neurologist. He just checks in on me. He's like, Sam, you look great for a guy that just had heart and brain surgery in 36 hours or 24 hours, however long it was, which is, made me feel great, which is true. Like those are the two most invasive surgeries you can have. And what I have at this point is a tube coming out of my heart. And then there's like this machine next to me and about 2,200 milliliters of fluid drains out over the next 10 days. And it's this fluid that would have if it stayed there, it would have killed me somehow. And so it was a complete miracle it was a miracle they found the tumors in my brain in the first place. Another miracle that they found my heart problem. And then, I finally get moved out of there and then I get moved into a regular room. And my good friend and current boss, Raju, at the time, came and stayed with me for 2 nights because when I was in a regular room, I had to have someone stay with me. My girlfriend has COVID, so she's at home. My parents are still, in Italy. So Raju, who actually, Dan, you worked with, he stayed with me, which was very kind of him. He snores like none other. Like at one point, can we drug him or something? And she's like, no, you can't. I was like, okay. But at any rate, I get seen by the actual oncologist at this point, and she she just lays it out flat and goes, Sam, you got stage 4 cancer in your lungs and your brain. And what we've done is we've taken a biopsy from your brain surgery when they removed the tumor, and we're going to sequence that. There's about 500 to 600 different things they can sequence it against to find out what it is, what it's related to, and to figure out how to fix it and what path to take. And growing up in the 90s, I had a lot of friends whose parents got cancer and were dead within 6 months. So I was absolutely convinced at that point that I'm going to be dead in 3 months, and she was like, Sam, first off, it's been 25 years and billions of dollars get poured into cancer research every year. We've come a long way. So, relax a bit. And I was like, okay, that's very true. Still, hearing the brain surgery, the heart surgery, and then the full on stage 4 cancer, my mind is warped at this point. I don't really even know how to handle it. I'm just like, I broke down crying a few times. Other times I was just like, I don't get it, So like I said, they're doing tissue sampling, figuring out what direction to do, trying to figure out what type of cancer this is. I mean, it's lung cancer, but there's different types. And I think it's a derivative or something like that, because I'm 36. I smoked for about 10 years, but I quit 5 years ago. It takes usually lung cancer you get from smoking cigarettes usually takes 20, 30 years. And it usually happens to older people. I mean, anyone under 40 that gets cancer, it's rare, right? So at this point, I'm in the hospital, just recovering from the surgeries, and they're waiting to find out what to do with me in terms of like, okay, are we going to do chemotherapy? Or are we going to, we got to figure out the situation. And the oncologist says it's going to take about a week to study the tissue and figure out what the right plan is. So during this whole time, I'm just like, I got my family there. That's lovely and everything. And, and I'm great to see them. They're literally in Thailand a month prior on vacation, where we went to Koh Koot and Koh Mak and had a great time. And now it's back to Thailand, but it's me with cancer in the brain and lungs. So it's a different story now. So yeah, it's just basically me in this room. And there's moments where I was just like, why the fuck is this happening to me? Why me? I'm 36. I don't get it. My life's been going great. And that's when I started to pick up the phone and started Facebooking people and talking to people I hadn't talked to in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 25 years for some of them. And I started reconnecting with all these friends, family members, distant cousins, people I've worked with, everyone and anyone that's been in my life. I started.
It sounds incredibly powerful, because I try and relate to it. And one part of me thinks that I would become withdrawn and want to keep myself away from everyone and not acknowledge what's going on, and certainly not talk to people. But you've gone the opposite. What happened in your brain to trigger that direction?
Basically, I figured like I had all this fear and all this shit going on in my brain. And I mean, literally had brain surgery too. So there's that too. I'm on all these medications and narcotics and all this stuff. And for me, it realized at night that at the end of the day, all I got are my memories. And no one can take those away from me. Memories of, childhood, memories of old relationships, memories of school and college and being at uni, memories of old jobs, memories of people in Thailand, and they all came flooding back to me. And that's what got me going and started just reaching out and talking to people. And I truly believe that's what turned things around for me. My spirit lifted. I started connecting with people I hadn't talked with in a long time, trading stories, laughing, crying, and releasing my frustration and energy and sharing it with people. And, I freaked out about a few things and people calmed me down. And so now I built this community of 100 or 150 people that, hadn't really been part of my life for the last couple of years. Now, all of a sudden, I spend all day texting and messaging and video calling them because I'm stuck in a hospital. I got nothing else to do. I'm on sick leave from work. And so That's what lifted me up and started driving me in the direction of positivity. Because in order, the doctor said, you have to be strong to beat this and you need to stay positive. And that's what started driving me, was those memories. And, that's like I said before, no one can take those fucking memories from me. And so I got to relive these. And, I don't know if you can relate to me on any level on that, but
I
that's
think,
what drove.
Sorry, I think it's amazing how you could, like, humans can respond to bad information, because it was this story you've just told me, rewind almost just a month ago, and this problem didn't exist. And now you've not only had to go through the operations, but you've had to come to terms with, how do I process this and how do I beat this and keep positive?
Exactly. How do I move forward? I mean, I got this massive scar on my head, and then I got a scar in my chest area. There's physical problems, there's emotional problems, there's I literally couldn't walk because I was laid down for 2 weeks. So there's psychological trauma and all this shit that I got to deal with. And I like I said, I started talking to people and lifting my spirits up and moving forward. So at that point, my parents were there and I was dealing with them. And I was in recovery mode. That's it. And I had all these worries too at first, like, how am I going to pay for this? What if I don't, can't get a job or work? Because I have a new job that I'm coming up to. I've been working on this career for the past 6-7 years. And I finally got a new job. It's a better title, better raise. It's like what I've been working for, for a long time to get to. And lo and behold, I get stage 4 lung cancer and brain cancer before I get to, start the job. So I'm like, fuck. And like I said, how are we going to pay for this? How am I going to live? How am I going to move forward? I pushed all that to the side because my friends and family and everybody in my community that I built told me, you need to chill out. And right now, the only thing you need to do is recover, which was absolutely right. You know what I mean? I can't just jump into all that shit.
Does that happen though? Because you've got all these work-related things. Does that become trivial, or does it stay equally important to before you had the news that you've got to fight cancer?
Trivial. I mean, that's the least of my concerns. Like, it's my thoughts were basically very simple. Each day I'm calling these 3, 4, 5 people and staying positive. And yeah, eventually I had to call my new boss and tell him, hey, look, I want to let you know I have stage 4 lung cancer and brain cancer. And my boss at my new job was completely understanding, totally cool about it, and asked if anything they can do to help me. And because I had to get that out of the way. That was at least the first thing I had to do. I realized that, okay, I'm in the hospital, I'm recovering, but there's all these little things that I kind of got to start doing, but I'm taking it slow. So I eventually get out of the hospital, which took forever just because paperwork, insurance, and doing all that stuff. And, all in all, it cost like 70,000 USD, something like that. So 2.1 million baht. And, that freaked me out. My parents, thank God, they covered that. But, I'm in the back of my head is like, I got to pay that back. Right. And the good news is, though, the oncologist came and said, Sam, we found a solution, and it's called targeted therapy. And what it is we've taken your DNA from the tumor and matched it up genetically and matched it up with the cancer you got. And it's been specially made for you by a pharmaceutical company in Bangkok. And you're just going to take it every day. That's it. I was like, that's awesome. I was like, what are the side effects? Expecting massive side effects to this. She goes, nothing really. Literally, I have a little bit of itching and that's it.
So this is the treatment to cure all of the cancer?
All the cancer. That's it.
It's not chemotherapy, it's a pill.
It's a pill. I mean, I might have to do chemo later if the pill doesn't work. They were thinking radiation on my brain, but the pill's working on the brain and the lungs and everything. I mean, it's a fucking miracle that
Wow.
after 2 weeks of finding out that I got cancer, that I started treatment already. That would never happen in the US. If I was in the US, I would not even know I had a brain cancer or tumor. Never that would happen in the US.
No, I often think there's benefits to being in Thailand. You know, in the
Mm,
UK, there's waiting lists, and I think it's better.
it's not.
How do you know if it's working? What's like, when do you go back to check?
It's gonna take 6 to 12 weeks to know if it's working, and the tentative plan is 2 to 3 years on this medication. There's kind of a spectrum of about lifetime. If I might have to take it lifetime, but targeted is 2 to 3 years. And there's a 60% chance of it working. The problem is it costs 170,000 baht a month, roughly $5,000. And that was like one of my big issues is like, fuck, you know, on top of the 70 grand USD or 2.1 million baht my family spent, I also got to deal with this. And that was becoming a stressor too. But I was like, I'm putting that to the side. I'm going to go home. And so I get home and I come up with a plan. There's 4 things I do every day. I wake up at 6 or 7 a.m. and I'm slowly relearning to walk. My coordination was messed up. The narcotics kind of messed up my ability to walk. And so I walk to the coffee stand, which is about 400 meters away. I do it by myself every morning because I need to, you know, like I said, I need to teach myself to walk and be confident in doing that. And I have to do it by myself because I can't have help 24/7. I need to do things on my own. This is not the first time I've had to get myself out of trouble. Second thing is I got to do 5-10 minutes on the elliptical, keep myself strong. I can lift, you know, they said you can do about 2 kilograms of weightlifting. So, you know, I'm starting slow. The third thing I do is I have phone calls with people, both friends, and just talk through life and keep those memories going and keep the positivity going and tell and share my story. Because I think there's a lot of miracles in that. And, you know, I'm not a super religious guy, but there's some power greater than me out there working on it, you know, or something or whatever involved in all of this. And then lastly, I just do some business stuff, whether that's emails, emailing my boss, figuring out my new insurance, setting up a GoFundMe, working on strategy with my brother on that, and even kind of starting a small side business with a friend. And it's just little stuff, you know, and that's in addition to resting. So that way I have things I can do that keep me busy, keep me positive, keep me happy. And I look back at this whole journey of my life. You know, to be honest, what happened was that 12 years ago, I was addicted to drugs. And you know, I was homeless. I was addicted to, you know, opiates and all this shit. And I realized I got to get myself out of this. I have to help myself. And so I got out of that by getting into kind of a recovery program and getting help and stuff. And, you know, I had 6 months sober and clean off drugs. And then my dad died of a heroin overdose. And so I had to deal with that shit. That was another obstacle.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I'd been clean and sober for a couple of years, helping people out. You know, I learned, I didn't have life skills back then. The only skill I had was I just need to raise my hand and say, I need help. And so I started to get these life skills, coping skills, therapy, and talking to people. That's the thing I learned, Dan, was when you talk to your friends about problems, it helps so much. A problem shared is a problem cut in half. Literally, that's how I feel about
Rather than keeping it inside.
Yeah, I can't keep it. I used to keep shit inside, and that led me to addiction. And so I during that time, you know, I figured, okay, I need to do more with myself. So I pushed myself to go back to college and finish and get a degree in computer science. And I worked at a startup and I hustled there. And then I said, I need to push myself to get outside my comfort zone. And I'm going to go to Thailand. And then I ended up in Thailand working at Nimble and working with you and doing all of that stuff. And I think through all these challenges, that drug addiction if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't have had that MRI eventually in Thailand,
Mm.
right? It all connects in a weird way. I doubt I would have had, you know, if I went in a different direction or stayed in Seattle or not had gone through drug addiction or whatever, and been somewhere else, I would have never had an MRI. I would have never found out. I mean, I had no symptoms.
Yeah.
You know, it all connects in my mind, at least. You guys might be like, yeah, you're crazy, Sam. But for me, it
But
all connects.
could it connect in a negative way, that the things that you went through led to you getting cancer?
What do you mean? Do you mean like the stress or the drugs I took and the
Stress, the
smoke?
drugs, the all of this on your body, or do you think it was all like a predefined role? You spoke about not being religious, but realized that things happen for a reason.
Yeah, you know, it could be the cigarettes. I was 22 doing drugs, but I wasn't doing like heroin and meth or anything. I was just taking prescription pills. You know, there's an opiate crisis in America that's been going on for too long. So it wasn't anything crazy, but I lost my friends, my family, my job, and everything over it. So my drug addiction, I don't think so. Smoking, it takes about 20 to 25 years. They may have played minor roles in it, but I don't see this as a negative thing, Dan,
Yeah.
at all. This has changed my life. And whether I end up dying in the next year or living for the next 40 years, it doesn't matter. You know, I have positivity. I have a story to share. I have friends and family that fucking love me. And I've seen it. I've seen people come out of the woodworks just to show their support and love. And no, I
I
don't.
feel like you've been enlightened. You know, like many of us live with our heads in the sand and
Yeah,
might live till 90 or 100, but don't really get to work out what life is really about. It feels like
no.
once you've cracked life, you know?
Yeah, I've been through a lot of fucking challenges and I've beat those challenges and I'm gonna beat this challenge. I ain't gonna fucking die of cancer.
Yeah.
Sorry about swearing, by the
No, I
way.
you know what, Sam, before we took this call, I really wanted to talk to you and I really wanted to share your story and do my small part in like your recovery. And talking
Yeah,
now has inspired me to think you've got this. You're on top of it.
yeah. You know, I don't want to set expectations too low. I mean, here's an example. Like I felt super guilty in the hospital for taking, you know, having to take morphine and fentanyl and all this stuff. Because, you know, I used to be addicted to opiates and I talked to my friends and connected to all sorts of people. And everyone said the same thing. Like, first off, Sam, you have cancer. You need to be comfortable and not in pain. Secondly, give yourself a break. That was 12 years ago. And you've clearly restructured your life in many ways. You've grown from that, you know, kid on the street to a man living in Thailand, you know, up here in a business and starting side projects with people and doing all that stuff. And I got a great palliative care team who knows my history, who knows how to handle everything and, you know, take me down slowly and not, you know, and if I get, you know, chemically dependent, they can take care of it. If I get addicted and whatnot, there's solutions. So for me, it's all about living in the solution and sharing that. And that's where I'm at today is, you know, sharing my story with people and staying positive because that's the true way to beat cancer. I mean, obviously the medication is going to do its job, but you know, it's a 50-50. It's a two-way street. I need to do my job too. I need to stay in shape mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
Cool. You know, I'm gonna wrap this up now, Sam. Don't go anywhere. I'm gonna stop the record, but we can carry on talking afterwards.
Yeah.
When I publish this, I'll put the GoFundMe link on the post as well, so that if anyone does want to help you, then they can.
Please, yes. We have a goal of raising 240,000 USD. That's to cover medication and costs for the next couple of years. But we have three goals, each 80 grand, 80,000 USD. So right now, you know, we're at the first goal. So as much help as possible is needed because you know, I want to beat this and I want to show to the world that I can beat this and we can do this together.
Yeah, cool. And then maybe we check in on another 3 months and we can update everyone and and keep
Absolutely. I got, I'll share my Facebook where I'm sharing pretty much every day my thoughts, my feelings, my fears. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to share your feelings and what you're going on. And I'm more than happy to do that on my IG and my Facebook and keep sharing my recovery journey in this wonderful country.
Yeah, and your TikTok. I'm telling me, Ali, you know,
Yeah, I'm still learning that,
I followed you. I can't get on with TikTok, but I followed you.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure it out if I want to do it or not. It makes good videos and whatnot, and then I can upload them to Facebook. But I don't know how I feel about it. I think I'll just continue doing it. It's TikTok, I got cancer, whatever. I'll try. I'm just gonna fuck it. I'll try it.
Yeah, cool. Okay, Sam, I'm going to stop recording. Don't go anywhere.
Sure thing.